So in starting some, basic audio, just some audio tips as we go here. Notice I'll continue with the timeline that I did in the last tutorial of inserting clips. My audio is on A1 and A2 as well. Now notice not only with some audio, but we might have to make some more tracks as we get into audio here and some other video portions here. As I said here with audio, you have S means solo, M means mute. So you might want to, for example, mute, or if you're working with two tracks of audio, just work with one, and you might mute a track if you're trying to just watch the video. You might press the letter M where you don't hear anything while you're working. So that's where the S and M come in here. Now, how do you make new tracks? Now, say if you want a new video track, you go to Clip and press Command Y. So it's clip, new video track, or command Y for new video. And if you want to make new audio, you do new audio track, command U. So it'd be clip, new audio track, select, or you press command and the letter U. You might have to do it twice though. Remember, you're supposed to do two, so make sure you know that when you do a new audio track, make sure you do it twice because you're supposed to have double. Again, with the footage that we have, the person did not do two audio tracks for whatever reason, but most clips are going to have two, so you should, when you do make a new audio track, make sure you do two tracks of audio with it. Now, why would you do that? Now, you have to really start paying attention here to the letters when I'm making a circle with on my timeline here. Say if I want to put audio, tracks A1 and A2 is my narration with these clips, but A3 and A4 is going to be music, or it's going to be sound effects. If I want to put stuff there, I need to drag A1 and I need to make sure it's going to A3. And say if there was an A2, it would go to A4. So right now you need to know, always drag these to where you want your clips to go. You really need to pay attention to that. And if I'm working with video and I want it to go to V2, I would drag V1 and I would go to V2. Now say if I'm doing B-roll, so say if this is from here to here, I want to see another clip, right? So let me find another footage, for example. I'll use across stones here, and I'm going to make, from where he's running, I'm going to make an in point, and I'm going to drag it over and make an out point right where he passes that. And where I have the indicator, that's where I want that clip to go. So I want the video, where say it was originally back at V1, I want it to go to V2, and then A1, I want to be where A2 is, okay? And I'm going to put my indicator right at the start here, and I'm going to insert it in, I'm going to splice in, excuse me, I'm going to Command Z that. The reason why I went there is because I had in and out point, so let me clear that, and let me go back. Where my indicator is, I'm going to splice that in, and notice it went to where that indicator was, and I'm going to Command Z that also, because I also want to make this smaller, so I'm going to make an out point here. And let me splice it in. And there it is. And I'm going to Command Z it again, and I'm going to bring it back a little bit more, and I'm also going to make it out point a little bit shorter, splice it in, and there it is. So notice, it's on V2, the video's on V2, the audio's on A2, and notice it plays on top. Whatever is on top is what you're going to see. Always keep that in mind. And notice both of my audios are on, so I'm going to hear both of those audio tracks. So I need to delete one of those audio tracks if I don't want to hear both what's coming out of them. But I see this video up and where that video ends, it's going to go back to what's underneath. And it's all about layering and editing, and that's what really makes it easier. So always be aware of, and I'm just going to delete this, and I'm going to go back to V1 and back to A1. So always just be aware. So anytime you do a B-roll, that's where you're going to use V2. And now we're talking about a little bit audio again. You use tracks A2, A3, and whatever's underneath here. So that's how you do tracks. Command and the letter A will select all of your tracks. Notice all the tracks weren't on. I only had certain tracks on, so if I selected Command A, that selects everything. If I want to make this a little, notice it's a little thin right now. If I hit Command and the letter L, that's going to increase the size. Look how much bigger that is. Remember, before we showed you how to drag the timeline to zoom in, but I can increase it and make this a little bit wider. If that's too big to reduce it, Command and the letter K will reduce that timeline. Remember when you're working with audio, when you're starting out here, you need to talk about waveforms. I need to see the waveforms here. How do I do that? To do all tracks, notice I have my fast menu on the bottom here on my timeline. And I need to go to Select Audio Data. So there it is, select audio data, and I would select waveform. And just by doing that, I see the waveforms. And that's really important when you do audio editing because you need to be able to see where it gets louder, where it's a little bit softer, especially when you're deleting and you're adjusting certain things. So always make sure your waveforms are on. Now, if I had multiple tracks of audio, I can do that per track. Um, so if I went to my hamburger audio data, and I would do right here, you have to make sure that in audio data that per track select is on. If that's off, it's just going to do it to all the tracks. I had that on, and I only have one track of audio, so that means it worked. It worked well for me also. Now, after I've done that, let's go to back to um, where my fast menu is here. And I need to, when I work with audio, I need to make sure my track control panel's on. And that's going to give me some other tools. Now notice right here, I can also turn on waveforms by this. If I went back to my hamburger and went to audio data and turn waveform on, well, by having the track control panel, I can press that button and the waveforms are just going to go on. Right next to it, notice I have keyframes. That's really important too when you're doing keyframe buttons, when you're going to adjust volume that way, and we're going to come back to that in another one. So that's really important too. Now you can modify some of these waveform size too. If you hit Command and move my indicator for a second, Command, Option, and the letter L, notice it increased the size of the waveforms. And if I hit Command, Option, and K, it decreased the waveforms too. So that's some simple tricks on when you're adding things to your timeline and you're getting started with how to edit audio in Avid Media Composer.